Hi guys, quick video today on an alternator change on a 2004 1.2 petrol Vauxhall Corsa. First thing you're going to want to do is jack the car up, get a jack underneath the engine. We're going to be removing the airbox, removing the intake pipe, then we're going to be removing the engine mount to give us access to the belt and to the alternator. To remove the airbox, we have a 7mm Jubilee clip that we need to remove here. Remove this intake pipe, which just pulls off. Remove the quick release connector on the mass airflow sensor, which should just come off. If you're doing it with two hands, it's a lot easier. There you go. We'll pull this pipe off. I've already loosened this one off. Well, I need to use two hands, but yeah, I'll get this removed and then carry on filming. There's also one T30 bolt holding the airbox to the chassis. Just need to get that removed as well. It's on the back. Then take all that up out the way. Put it to one side. This gives us more access. Now I've got the jack under the engine already. It's jacked up. We're going to get the correct sockets for these bolts here, and then we'll get those out. So those bolts for the engine mount are an E16. Just going to get that onto an impact driver, and then we'll get those bolts out. Had it up a bit too high then. There's the engine mount out the way. Then next we can get the engine jacked up a bit more. Like so. Next we need to get this bracket out of the way. Or do we? I don't think we do actually. Oh yes we do. We need to get this bracket out of the way. That's an E16 as well, 3 E16 bolts. To get that off, just going to get a smaller ratchet. So the next step is we need to release tension off this tensioner. To do that, use an E18 socket, get it on the end of a ratchet, and then you put pressure downwards, which you'll see will release tension there. Once you do that, you can get something like a 5mm, 4mm Allen key, anything that will fit in this little hole on the metal strip that comes up out of that tensioner. You just place it through once you've got tension on it, and then you lock it off. Once that's done, you can then remove the two E16, I believe they're E16 tension bolts in order to remove the tensioner, which is what we're going to do now. Hope you can see what I'm doing. I've just dropped the socket. One sec. There's the other bolt out. Remember to take note of the orientation. This goes all the way around the alternator, the water pump, the AC compressor, then the crank pulley. It goes all the way around the outside, then it curls around the tensioner on this one. But just take note, draw a diagram if needed, so you don't forget how it goes on. So now we have access to the actual alternator. One thing I forgot to mention is we need to disconnect the positive terminal on the battery, obviously, or the negative, in order to make sure that there's no live going to the positive feed on the alternator. We need to remove the 13mm bolt off the back of the alternator. There may well be a block connector or something like that on the back as well, and then we'll remove the alternator. So obviously I can't show you these wires because they're right behind the back of the engine, but there's an 8mm socket, 8mm bolt that you need to get off for the alternator signal wire, and then there's the positive cable with the 13mm bolt that you need to get off. It's a bit tricky. I'm gonna have to do this sort of from behind. And then, that's the only way we can do it. Instead of getting underneath the car, just reach your hands around the back of the alternator and do it that way. If you don't want to have to get underneath the car, it'd probably be easier if you did it on a ramp underneath, to be honest, to get access to it. But I want to get those cables off now, then remove these two E16 bolts, and then we'll just pull the alternator out. So we've got those two bolts out off the back. You've got 113, and you've got a little 8mm as well. Once they're done, you need an E14 for the alternator bolts. There's one at the top, one at the bottom, and I'm hoping there's none at the back. I don't believe there is on this. I think it's just these two. Luckily they're just finger tight, you can just undo them by hand. There we go. And now that alternator should, in theory, pry out. I just need to get a pry bar. 1 second. And a little squeeze there, a little push there. And there's obviously a cable tie holding it onto the back. Just gonna have to clip that, holding the cable on. 1 sec. Just snip that cable tie with a pair of wire cutters, and yeah, that was holding it on. And it's out. So there you see your 13, your little 8mm. And yeah, we'll get the new one in, and fingers crossed, it's all good. Obviously, installation's the reverse of removal, so I will get this all back together. I'll get the new alternator. Where is it? Let me just show you it. The new alternator, we'll get that in. Yeah, and then we'll film once it's all fit back together, and show that it's charging. There we go. So the belt's on, tension's tightened up. Now I can release tension off release tension off this tensioner to remove the little tool that I've put in there. Make sure the belt's on straight, which it is, and there you go. That's all on nicely. Now we can get this mount back on, the engine mount back on, airbox in, and then we're good to go. So we've got this bracket on. I'm just going to lower the engine down now and get the engine mount back on. That should just about be enough. There we go. I believe that's the 18 we need. No, 16, sorry. What did I do with that? One sec. That's here, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. All done, and now get the airbox back in. Get that intake pipe on. Get the airbox into position. Might as well get that pipe on at the same time. In the location pin, and that's it. Get that T30 back in, whatever I've done with that, it's around here somewhere, and then we'll get the Jubilee clips tightened up. $7mm on this Jubilee clip again. We'll connect the mass airflow sensor. I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing. Get that back into position. Make sure it's all tight and secure. And we can start her up. So we're in the car. Multimeter's connected up to the battery, as you can see, 12.18 volts. Ignition on. Let's start her up. And there you go. Charging voltage, 14.5 volts, bang on. Should obviously be under 15, over 13, over 13.5. So yeah, it's spot on. Charging, no light on the dash, ready to go. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And hello again, people. Real quick one today, bit of an unusual one. I'm just in the process of rebuilding these clocks, or repairing these clocks, on a 2006 Land Rover Defender. It's had a new, so far, it's had a new one of these screens because various of the LED indicator bulbs had gone due to a corroded board, so we've had that replaced. And then the next step was to get some of the bulbs replaced in the, that's the speedo, in the speedo there. So that, obviously when you put your lights on, that's not lighting up, so the customer wants us to sort that. So obviously it's just a simple bulb, usually quite small. There's various different types, but the issue with this one is they are they are sunk into the clocks, so you can't actually get them out. too thin to get a pair of needle nose pliers in. You can't, yeah, there's no tool that I can think of that, well, I've tried with a few different ones to try and get it out, but without damaging it, no, you can't get it out. And I was searching for a tool to get this out, and there isn't an actual official tool anywhere. However, I came across this from a company called Bits for Landies, or Emberton Imperial, www.embertonimperial.com. And yeah, they 3D print these clearly and sell them for a reasonable price, of course. And without this, I wouldn't have been able to do this job. I think these are the only sellers of this type of tool online. I can't find this tool anywhere. So yeah, nice little 3D printed tool. Obviously, it doesn't need to be perfect because it's just to take these bulb holders out. But let's just demonstrate how it works. Slide it in there, twist, and there you go. One blown bulb, as you can see. So the other one's blown as well. Luckily, we've got the spare bulbs here, replacement. So we'll get one of those in. We can do that now. But I just think it's really cool that whoever the owner is at Emberton, or whoever the person is that made this or came up with the idea to make this, just have to say thank you, because without this tool I would have not been able to do this. And I know it's only a small job, and it's not the end of the world. However, it would be nice to just have everything working on a vehicle. I can't get that bulb out. Anyway, that's a separate topic. So yeah, it's made the job really easy. Nice, cheap, easy. Obviously handy to have in future if I ever have to do one of these again. But yeah, it's just a real quick video, really, just to say, you know, it's really I really appreciate it when people, you know, are clever enough to come up with a product like this in order to fit you know, do a job that you wouldn't normally be able to do. And it's obviously been made by someone, I'm guessing, at home. But yeah, typical classic British type engineering, I'd say, you know, ingenuity, where they've just gone, yeah, we can make one of them. I'm sure someone else around the world is going to need one at some point. I wonder how many of these they've sold. But yeah, really cool. So thank you to Bits for Landies, or embertonimperial.com, for doing that. And yeah, keep up the good work. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.